Welcome to ISRL for the Tier 2 Japanese Grand Prix. Thank you so much for joining us. We are live right now at Suzuka for the Japanese Grand Prix. I'm joined today by ISRL Carter. Carter, great to have you in the commentary booth, to have me on my ISRL debut commentating for you guys, and I'm very excited to be commentating already a historic racetrack like Suzuka.
Yeah, absolutely. Glad to be here with you. The Season 2, especially here in Tier 2, is really heating up. We've seen a lot of inter-team battle as we see the two McLarens at the top of the standings, just separated by 1 point, and the two, the Alfa Romeo and two Williams, along with the Mercedes of Cruz. We've got a great championship shaped up here for Tier 2.
As we're loading up into the lobby right now, of course, the format for the race will have 18 minutes of non-stop action. Drivers are allowed to set as many qualifying laps as possible to go on pole.
Oh, there we go.
And
okay.
Then we will have a 50% race, which is 27 laps around here at Suzuka. Just going over the...
yeah, sorry, I got a little bit worried. I saw the lap 1 of 3.
Oh, yeah, this happened a few times, and I'm like,
I think we got it all figured out.
As we can go over the lineup we have here at the moment, we have, you can help me with some of the names here if you've commentated on some.
Sure.
Ikovic.
Actually, I could. Yeah, we've got Ikovic with his teammate Veslovsky. Elbiku had a bad accident last week. Definitely expressed his frustration. Mentioned that he may have to step away, but glad to have him back. As we see some of the cars now start to head out for their first out laps. As I was mentioning, though, the championship leaders are the two McLaren drivers, Mr. Cool and Jediant. 52 points and 51 points, as mentioned before. But yeah, definitely going to look for those two as we have one of them out on the track now.
And let's see who the furthest guy up on the grid. I do believe it is, looks to be... There's an Alfa Romeo ahead of him. I think it's Alex, who is currently the furthest guy ahead at the moment, as he lets by Northman. Again, thank you for joining us. This is live coverage of the Tier 2 Japanese Grand Prix here at ISRL Esports. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you're new to the channel. And if you're here, just say hey, hello. And thank you so much for joining us, as we are just about 2 minutes gone from qualifying already, as Northman currently the first guy out on track, it looks like, and he might be the first person to set a lap.
Yeah, Northman, taking a look at the standings, Northman currently sits 10th. He's gotten 12 points accumulated on the year. Last time out in Brazil, an absolutely crazy race. Trying to look and see the race results, can't quite find. We'll have to try again soon, but yeah, as you mentioned, Northman is going to hopefully be, for his sake, the first one to set a lap time.
The only driver who currently has hard tires on is Elbiku, though. He is still in the pits. Most drivers running soft tires, a few drivers venturing out on the medium compound tire, though I suspect that they will be going to the softs near the end if they don't believe they can set a fast enough lap. These soft tires, they do tend to last about 10 laps around here, but they will fall off quickly after that point, as we're watching on board of Northman, who is currently setting his lap, riding a little bit of the curb as he comes up to the uphill section and then hits the curb again, and that's already a spin out, and he is spun 180 degrees.
We've actually had a couple cars off the track. I think it was El Biku in the Haas. He just tried to flip through the drivers, saw him into the grass and the gravel around the same portion of the track as he actually comes by Northman now. It's definitely a tricky track. Sector 1 through the S's can catch a lot of drivers out, and especially the left-hander, the long left-hander uphill. The corner numbers, it's getting away from me, but yeah, Sector 1 is a very, very treacherous area of the track, and you have to have full concentration for sure.
You cannot touch the curbs pretty much anywhere. At least you can't mount too much of the curbs. You can kiss them a little bit, but if you're taking too much of them, the car starts to spin, and it's almost impossible unless you come to a full stop to get it back into motion. As I'm running aboard as Jedi currently goes fastest of a 128.9. It's not a bad first lap to go. And then Jordan behind him with a 130.8. I'm riding on board with Alex Judd 24 as he's coming around the final few turns. And he will come across the line and he will set a 131.4. So not definitely the fastest lap, as Lorenzo goes second fastest, 130.1.
Yeah, mentioned it already a couple times. Giant definitely one to look out for. Lorenzo, we've seen his pace before here in Tier 2. He's got some good pace. Just hasn't quite had the luck yet to really show his true pace. Fallen Monkeys, I think definitely going to want to look to go again. Maybe more of a banker lap than anything, or just maybe wanted to just get a time on the board for now.
Definitely a few seconds off pace. Oops, that's Mushroom who gets a 129.4. So Mushroom having a good start to qualifying, currently sitting second on the grid as Kovacic sets a 130 flat.
And one driver I haven't mentioned yet, LAS Chris, Season 1 champion. I'm pretty sure, my memory's slipping on me, but it's always between him and the two McLarens, at least this year. It was in the championship hunt last year in the Alfa Romeo, so he's definitely going to be one to look for, to keep an eye on.
Chris, coming off good momentum from Japan, finished on the podium as the McLarens currently 1-2, as Mr. Kulik goes with a 128 flat, which is a killer time for a Tier 2 time here. But as I was mentioning, Chris with a podium in the Tier 4 race in the Ferrari, now in the Alfa Romeo, giving him some good momentum as he's currently starting third on the grid. But the times I do suspect may fall a little bit more. We might see a few drivers venture out into the 128s, but that is a big time from Kulik.
Yeah, just as we saw it last week in qualifying, the McLaren 1-2 followed by an Alfa Romeo. We see the two Mercedes as well. Cruz, obviously, we've seen his pace. It's currently 5th in the championship standings. And Mushroom, we mentioned this a lot. His pace is great, but it's just sometimes he can maybe get a little bit too eager, a little bit too aggressive, and it can sometimes get him in some sticky situations. But a good qualifying time.
I
at least
saw
so far,
there was a Williams spun round. It was maybe Dempsey, who has a little bit of his front wing missing, actually a lot of it on the left side of the car. So that's going to be a pit stop for him. Jordan is his teammate behind him with a 130.8, so the two Williams in the top 10. Mercedes looking good. Cruz 9K, currently sitting 5th behind his teammate, so the Mercedes are looking quite good as well. McLaren 1-2 at the moment, with Chris splitting the Mercedes and the McLarens. And just about 11 minutes to go left in qualifying, as we've seen the first few laps go across the board. And quite impressive times already, especially from Mr. Kulik.
Yep. It's, again, a pretty normal sight to see Mr. Cool and Giant at the top of the leaderboard. Some guys we might look to see get up amongst them. Vasilevsky and Ikovic, the two Toro Rosso teammates. We know they're very fast. Yuri, we saw last year a lot in his respective tier, get some good results. Damsey, haven't mentioned him yet. And Azerbaijan treated us to a great battle with the two McLarens. So yeah, qualifying for now, but during the race, definitely he's going to want to get up amongst the top drivers.
Vasilevsky currently on the medium compound tires, and his teammate Ikovic with the softs with 130.0. He definitely would like to dip that into the 129s if he wants to be solidified in that top 5 positions.
It might be trying to split strategy, trying to see what each other's teammate strategy might look like, and go from there accordingly. But yeah, so far only 2 drivers have actually tried times or set times on the medium tire. It looks like Vasilevsky's going to become the 3rd, as well as El Biku if he can get a clean lap in. It's actually coming around right now. We're going to see what the time's going to be. It's going to be a 131.09. That's good enough for 10th at the moment.
You can definitely go at least half a second faster on the softs, I would presume.
Yeah, I'd definitely say so. Giant, he's going to try another lap. He's going through the S's right now. He actually got pretty close to the grass, and you mentioned it earlier. If you clip the curb or the grass, you're going for a spin.
He's down by a tenth in the first sector, so still gained some time despite the little scare moment. Now, for strategies, we expect most drivers start on the softs. They will go to the mediums. We may see a few drivers then switch back to the softs at the end, but a lot of guys will try to extend the mediums till the end of the race. For medium guys, they will probably go mediums quite long and then go to softs. I'm not expecting to see hard tires. Hard tires are quite hard to get into working condition. You can actually see the McLarens working out this beautifully with Mr. Cool giving him a little bit of slipstream coming into 130Rs. So Jedi now currently on a pretty good lap, and we may see him jump up to pole. The two McLarens working in tandem, and that may be why they're currently 1-2 on the grid. As he comes around the final turn, this is going to be a monster lap, and it's going to be a 120.7, and it's not actually too much faster.
He ran out of ERS deployment availability right at the line, and sometimes you see that with some of the drivers use a lot of it, or all of it actually in this case, throughout the rest of the lap, and it can sometimes hurt your final your final lap time. So.
Interestingly enough, I know that maybe it was because Mr. Cool has an invalidated lap time, so he is not going to be setting a lap time this lap, which is unfortunate because I saw Jedi go off track, and I was a little awed by that because I thought maybe give him slipstream, but the McLaren currently with a invalidated lap time. Northman has, we have a few change of positions here as Jordan JT has gone 6th. Mushroom is down to 5th, with Northman currently 4th. As you can see, the Red Bull is working a little bit in tandem there as well, and Cruz is down to 7th.
Yeah, definitely missed Northman getting up to 4th. So a pretty good lap time for him getting it into the 129. His teammate Fallen Monkeys, haven't mentioned him yet. It's a little bit of the grass there. He's going to set his second lap time. Chilmo in the Ferrari is the only one who has yet to set a lap time. Maybe part of his strategy, don't know, but we'll have to keep an eye on that for sure. Mr. Cool, you mentioned, yeah, you're right, his lap has been invalidated. He'll head back into the pits.
Fallen
Danzy's also on a hot lap with his teammate also getting a little bit of slipstream. There's actually more teammates working together that I've seen in a long time, especially in this tier 2. We always see the McLarens like to work together, but
I just want to mention Chomo is currently on a lap right now. He is in a little bit of a slipstream of a car ahead of him. He has not set yet a lap time in this race, and there's a 132 to beat, which I think he can do so. He just passes Cruz in the Mercedes coming around the final chicane, and let's see if he can put a good lap time on the board. Coming around the final turn, looking good, and I think he should just dip it into the 130s, and yes, it's a 133, and that's going to put the Ferraris 9th and 10th, so a good lap by Chomo, and he puts himself in the top 10.
Yeah, definitely very, very impressed by Chilmo with that lap. We kind of seen him, again, his luck this season just not good so far, but very encouraging to see him get, or at least crack the top 10 with that lap time.
You have to, as racing with Mo and before, Mo definitely has a lot of raw pace. There's no doubt about that. I think sometimes consistency does come into effect with him, and he does tend to have mistakes once in a while, but the speed cannot be denied for Chilmo. If he can get it consistent here in Suzuka, I suspect a good result for him in this race.
Yep, and he's going to be looking to get in there on, get some points on the board. He's currently just got 1 on the year so far, but as you said, that's not indicative to his team phase.
We actually see, I believe that's Cruz now who's on a lap.
Yeah, watching him too. There's a car behind him. I couldn't quite tell if that was his teammate.
I believe that was Mo. That is Mo.
It is. Yep. So Cruz coming around to set a lap time.
He's currently behind the Williams there for a second. I don't know if he caught anything from that, but he's down by about half a second through Sector 2.
Yeah, and I mentioned it before, a good exit through the chicane is crucial. And there's a little bump there. Yep, you just saw it there. Can catch some drivers out. What's the time going to be for Cruz?
Jumps ahead of Jordan with a 129.4, so he puts it up a place. I want to also mention Mushroom, 129.0. So he's currently 3rd on the grid. Mushroom with a fantastic qualifying at the moment. in Suzuka. And again, Mushroom is another one of those drivers who definitely has the pace and is actually, you would say at times, maybe faster than maybe a Tier 2, but just the consistency, again, sometimes wanes away from him, and we see some unfortunate accidents, but Mushroom definitely has the ability to put in good performances.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, as you mentioned, it's more, I think, just being overtly aggressive, but in, more of a Max Verstappen, like, where he has incredible pace, but sometimes just the decision making is a little bit questionable. But we've seen it in qualifying. I think it looks like every single race or every single qualifying session this year, he's at least at the top 5 or the top 7.
Chris is coming through the S's. Very not so great, actually, as he's run wide, and the car's been sliding around all around here, so I don't think this is going to be a fantastic time for him. He's currently sitting 4th. Northman behind him. I want to mention all drivers are going to be starting on softs, at least in the top 10. Some may like to go back to mediums, but all drivers currently trying to set times on softs at the moment.
Yeah, well, actually, I don't think I've ever seen this before. Every single driver right now is electing to qualify on the softs.
As Northman comes across the line, this is going to be a big time, and it is. It's going to be second on the grid with a 128.7, and it's going to be about 0.05 of a second faster, 0.06 of a second faster than Jedi, who he drops down the 3rd. Jedi's on a lap right now and is down by about almost a 10th through the 1st sector.
Yeah, and just as Northman completed the lap, you could actually see Jedi's teammate, Mr. Cool, start sneaking out of the pits like, wait a minute, I don't think, I may not be safe here for Paul, I might want to go out again.
As he comes out, he's on his up, he just passed Northman, and now...
That was actually very, very close. If that was a hot lap, if I were Mr. Cool, I might want to have...
Well, it's still a 7/10 gap. We do have to mention that. And Jedi does not have any slipstream coming down. This is going to be his final lap as he only improves by, again, a 1/10 of a second. So he should get ahead of Northman as long as he gets this. Oh, out of ERS. Does he hit the chicane well? Not great out of the exit. Didn't catch as much of the curve. Comes across the line. No, it is not going to beat Northman, so he is going to probably start 3rd on the grid. Northman in 2nd. Mr. Cool currently on pole position, and he's pretty comfortable right now. There's not too many drivers we think that can beat him. Maybe Mushroom, as Mushroom is coming through the S's now, coming maybe for a final lap.
Yeah, and I mentioned he clipped the grass and he lost his ERS, and as you mentioned, he was a 10th up on his time and ended up being a 10th down, so that probably most likely made all the difference.
Ooh, big slide out of the turn there for Mushroom. That could have been a disaster, but he caught it well as he's coming out of Sector 1, and it looked like he was a little slower as Mushroom currently sitting 4th. Chris is in the pit, so he is not going to come out again. His teammate, Cruz, is currently on a lap right now as well, coming through the S's. And again, slower through the 2nd sector. Oh, actually... and that is the invalidation from Mushroom, and that is it. Yep. And into the wall goes the Mercedes, so I think he is definitely quit on this qualifying session, but a good position nonetheless for him, as that's the McLaren. Oh, was that Mr. Cool running very wide, and it is an invalidation. He was fastest in the fastest purple Sector 1, but he is out of qualifying in terms of this. He is invalidated on the final lap, so he cannot challenge for pole again. We'll see if anybody else can beat it.
Yep, this is when the time's really starting to fly in. And now Yuri's going to cross the line, improves by nearly a 1.5 seconds, only goes up 1 spot. There's a McLaren and a Mercedes going into the pits. Albiku's looking to set a lap time. This is when all craziness really just starts to unfold here.
Not a good lap time by Albiku when he goes into the pits. Yeah, I'm riding on board for Lorenzo right now as I'm trying to see how he can do through the 2nd sector. Let's see if he improves or not as he is coming around.
Yep, back to Lorenzo now. His teammate just crossed the line. But yeah, Lorenzo, we're gonna have to see his time.
No, this is not going to be this is not going to be pole by any stretch. This is definitely an aborted lap.
Yeah. Whoa. Yep. Definitely
so,
aborted.
Looking like I don't know if any drivers. I think maybe.
It's like Damsey and Veslovsky maybe might be the only 2 left to set up.
Somebody just jumped up, I thought.
It may have been Fallen Monkeys who just finished his lap time. And look at that, Damsey all the way up into 6th place.
Fantastic final one as he was about to start at the bottom of the racetrack. As Yuri is out of fuel, going extremely slowly, and Veselowski is with a 1:31.0, the slowest man on track, and invalidated his final lap, so definitely not the qualifying he would have liked to have had.
Yep, and Jordan JT gives up on his lap. Is that an Alfa Romeo or a... And it looks like that may be it for qualifying. Yep, and I think that's it. You mentioned it, Yuri's out of fuel. He's already set his lap time. So it looks like that's going to be the order for qualifying for the Japanese Grand Prix.
Mr. Cool, Northman, Jedi, Mushroom, and Chris are your top 5 in qualifying. A blistering time by Mr. Cool in the beginning of qualifying for 1:28.0, and nobody could touch that time. Northman
that was his first
off.
lap.
It was his first lap.
First lap.
Northman
incredible.
Couldn't even get close. It was 7/10 off of pole position, so a major gap to pole in that sense, and the times the rest down the field, I'm sure as well, are also not close enough. But it's going to be a McLaren on pole with a Red Bull in second, and okay, Yuri's finally coming across. So then we have
to see the Red Bull get in there and split the two up. You don't really want to see a Mercedes Mercedes-esque just 1-2 every week. So good on Northman to get in amongst them, as well as Mushroom and Chris Cam. We've got pretty much the normal top 6 or top 7 that we usually see at the front. But again, it's Japan. These S's are really going to test all these drivers. So it should be very, very interesting.
End of qualifying. Mr. Cool puts it on pole here in Japan for Tier 2. Again, guys, make sure to tune in. We still have the Tier 1 Japanese Grand Prix. It's our main event of the evening. And make sure to tune in later in the night for that race. But here is the end of short qualifying, as I'll go over the grid order very quickly. It's Mr. Cool in first, Northman in second, Jedi in third, fourth for Mushroom, Chris in fifth. It's Damsey in sixth, Cruz in seventh, Lorenzo in eighth, and Jordan in ninth. Rounding off the top 10 is Fallen Monkeys, and in 11th is Ikovic, who is followed by Chill Mo in the Ferrari in 12th, 13th for Alex Judd 24, 14th for Albiku 1, 15th for Yuri, and 16th for Veselowski in the Toro Rosso. That rounds off your grid, a full 3 seconds off pole position.
Yep, and we saw 2 drivers actually venture out onto the mediums at the end of the day. Luckily for them, they qualified, I think it was Veselowski and Albiku, they qualified 16th and 14th respectively, so they'll get a free strategy choice, free choice of tires. As we await now the formation lap, we usually give drivers, we tell them, don't ready up immediately, let everyone get their strategies, their fuel, let them have a little bit of time to decide, is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, actually we're going to get started a little bit earlier than we want. Who are some of the people, after looking at qualifying, that you might want to keep an eye on? Obviously the 2 McLarens.
For sure, and I think Northman, I don't know if Northman can, again, I don't know too much of the pace for some of the drivers here, but we'll have to wait and see if Northman can keep up with those McLarens after splitting the 2. So it's going to be interesting. I'm actually excited to see how Mushroom does as well, as he put it pretty high up on the grid as well, further than he may have expected to.
As we now start the formation lap, drivers want to get their brakes, their engines warmed up, get the tires warmed up. Don't want to have cold tires, especially for the start, going into turns 1 and 2, where it's not really a heavy braking zone. Not the best place for an overtake. It's going to get very, very crowded going into turn 1. I can guarantee you that for sure.
And there we are riding on board with Mr. Cool. He is the pace setter here today, a 1:28.0 in qualifying, and he had a fantastic performance. That's Northman behind him. Carter, I just want to mention your mic.
Yep, I know.
No problem. Jedi currently in third, Mushroom in fourth. Rounding off your top five is Chris in the Alfa Romeo. Alex Ja, his teammate, is a lot further down the grid. Dempsey currently sitting in sixth. There's Cruz in seventh in the Mercedes. Lorenzo, a Ferrari behind him. There is Jordan. Your top 10 finisher is Fallen Monkeys. I'm going to get up the details again because they seem to get rid of it for some reason. So, actually, very interesting here. So, 12th, 13th, 12th through 16th, all electing to go on the mediums. Everybody else, including, by the way, Ikovic, is starting on the softs. So interesting, the split there for tire details. So most drivers will look to do a soft to medium strategy. Maybe a few of them might try soft, medium, soft. And then we may see a lot of medium softs down the rest of the grid. That is, of course, as long as everything goes A-OK as they're coming down towards 130R.
Exactly. And I think ISRL Knight mentioned this in the previous broadcast. Don't really like to use the hard tires around this track. It takes them an extremely long time to get. I was
just actually practicing with Knight before the race, and again, that's the hardest thing, is that to get the hard tires into an operating window is very difficult, and then to keep it in the operating window as well. If you overcook the tires slightly or you get them under temperature slightly, they just do not work. So not a reliable tire to be on. As here we go, ladies and gentlemen, everybody lining up into their grid positions. That is Mr. Cool right there, with Northman going to be alongside him. Pole position is on the right side of the track, which is not the side of the track you want to be on into the first turn. So Mr. Cool does have the, Northman is on the inside, so he is not going to have a good advantage coming into turn one. And let's get ready for the 5 red lights here in Japan for round number 4.
Yep, sometimes we get the fake lights, sometimes we get the real lights. You have to look at the telemetry.
And it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's the 5 lights here in Suzuka. And the lights are out, and away we go. And it's a fantastic start by Mr. Cool. Jedi jumps him, and then Mushroom gets a fantastic start off the line. And he's going to jump the Red Bull in the turn number 1. He's going to try to go on the inside of Jedi in the turn 2. And he is going to just get the position for a second, and then he's battling with him. There's a little bit of contact between the two drivers, and it's Jedi who gets ahead of him. And then there's Mushroom slotting behind him. Northman got a terrible start off the line. He's currently sitting in 4th. There's Cruz in 5th. Dempsey is still in 6th position where he started in this race, but they all got relatively clean through turn number 1, but already a 1.1 second gap to first, and he is Mr. Cool, and he is doing a fantastic job in this race already, but his teammate will be looking to get close to him as there's Mr. Cruz battling with Northman. Northman now dropping down to 5th. Now on the inside is Dempsey into the hairpin, and Northman's had a terrible start to his Grand Prix as he's dropping down positions. Now battling still with Dempsey. I think they're still side by side. Amazing start to this Grand Prix. They bang wheels, and that's Dempsey on the inside, and he takes the position away from him. And that is a horrible, horrible start, and now he's going to be under pressure from Chris.
Yeah, Northman did not get a good start at all. Had a lot of wheel spin, was already side by side with Mushroom before even turn 1. Now losing 4 positions before even the second sector ends, and it does end now. But yeah, a terrible start for the Red Bull.
And Cruz has gone ahead of his teammate. He puts it into 3rd. Mushroom down to 4th. Dempsey behind him in 5th position. And we now begin lap number 2 of this Grand Prix. Mr. Cool, of course, that's the fastest lap of the race. Jedi is behind him, coming into turn 1 a little bit too far back to be even thinking about making a move into the turn there. Cruz 1.8 seconds behind second place, and that is not the kind of gap you want already in the beginning of this race, as now the top 2 might start to spread away a little bit from the rest of the pack unless they do have some battles. So it should be interesting. Mushroom has lost it a little bit there. Northman is still battling with Dempsey. What a fantastic move through the S's, and gets himself back into 5th, but now runs up on the grass, and Dempsey might be making another run on him. No, at the moment he keeps behind Northman.
Yeah, it was an outstanding move by Northman around the outside there. But I want to give it up to all these drivers, actually. What a very, very clean start. We only had 1 incident as Alex is into the pits. So a very clean start for all the drivers.
And Alex, he puts on the medium compound tires. I don't believe he started. Oh, no, he did start on the medium. So it's mediums again, which is interesting to say the least. I do see a lot of drivers when they pit early, they do try to go onto those hard tires and see if they can make them last a little bit longer. But as we are on lap 2 at the moment now, you can see the two McLarens again 1-2 and leading away very well indeed. And it's Mr. Cool seeming to have the advantage over Jedi, currently a gap of 0.7 seconds to the lead, with Cruz in third. And look at this, a big move by Dempsey, mixing side by side through the chicane. Now Dempsey has that outside lane, and he gets better traction out of the final turn and gets back ahead of Northman. Northman now under pressure from Chris. It's a drag race in the turn number 1. They're side by side, front wing to front wing. On the inside in the turn number 1, it's going to be Chris who's going to take it ahead of Northman. And but then he goes wide. He goes too wide, and now it's Northman who will take back that position. Lorenzo will then take it as well. Chris comes just ahead of Jordan, who has now been compromised a little bit, and you can see him struggling, but he wants to get ahead of Chris immediately. There's a spin and a crash into the wall, and that's the Ferrari of Lorenzo, who has hit the wall, still in this race, but definitely has front wing damage he needs to repair ASAP.
Yeah, I was just about to say there's a good 3-car battle going on right in front of these guys between Lorenzo, Dempsey, and Northman, but Lorenzo just lost it in the S's.
Jordan is very, very close to Chris. He definitely wants to make a challenge back for 7th. He has a little bit of issues of traction coming out of the hairpin, and he drops down to 8th at the moment behind Chris and is dropping a little bit of time to him as well.
Yep, and I can see it's the gap between Jedi and Mr. Cool has been hovering around about 0.8 of a second so far through this race, but he's got that slipstream in that toe going into 130R. They are, seems like, pulling away in tandem almost between the two Mercedes, who are actually now spreading out a little bit. If they want to try and catch up, Mushroom's got to catch up to Cruz, try and work together. And I saw that. Who was that who went off the track a little bit?
Looks like Mushroom had a little bit of a slide coming through the chicane there. Dempsey is in the slipstream with DRS. DRS was activated on the last lap. Coming into turn number 1, they're going to go side by side, and it's going to be Dempsey with contact between the drivers. They're still okay. Mushroom keeps it ahead of him. Unbelievable scenes there. Somehow contact did not result in a spin there, and I cannot believe that they kept that car controlled. It looked like they slowed up a little bit. I think Dempsey may have slowed up a little bit, and that may have been what saved it. Northman now going to be in trying to push pressure on him as he almost runs up on the curb there a little bit. That could have been dangerous for him as well. But that was some major contact in the turn number 1 between Dempsey and Mushroom that could have ended catastrophically.
I don't know how neither of them didn't spin out, let alone get any type of damage whatsoever, nor how Mushroom was able to keep 4th position away from Dempsey. But through all that, as you mentioned, this is just giving Northman, and now Chris can, the opportunity to catch up to the two of these cars battling. And actually, at the same breath, it's letting Cruz try and catch up to the two McLarens.
About 2.7 seconds still in that gap, though, so very hard to keep up the momentum if you're not in that slipstream. Mushroom is going to have a lot of trouble, though. 3 seconds away from his teammate, and Dempsey coming through 130R, and Mushroom gets a really bad line through there. We might see him move into the chicane, and looking on the outside, but Mushroom covers it off well. He knew about that possibility. Coming into the final turn here, again, DRS activated for Dempsey right there, but a little bit further back than he would have liked to have been for the final turn. I don't suspect a move through into turn number 1, and no, he will stay behind Mushroom at the moment.
Yeah, things kind of starting to settle down here just a little bit. There's
a little bit of battles at the bottom of the racetrack here. Chill Mo is having a battle with the Renault here, and he gets ahead of him as Yuri slows up considerably. Chill Mo goes up to 11. Oh, there's contact. There's a Haas in the wall, and that's Albiku. And I don't know.
Is off too.
Fallen Monkeys into the wall. He still has a lot of front wing on him, so that is good for him, but his tires must be cooked. And
Albiku, different incidents.
Albiku has damage on the right side of his front wing, so that's going to be a pit stop for him. So further down the field, a little bit of drama as I'm running on board of Choma right now. Is in the top 10, so looking for some points here. Currently behind that's the Renault, of Yuri. And he is doing a pretty good job in this race so far, keeping it consistent. Jedi is closing in a little bit on his teammate. That has dropped down to now 0.7 of a second hovering. Now under 0.6 of a second, so Jedi definitely getting some momentum on his teammate. They're both on 4-lap old softs.
Yep, you just mentioned it. The gap relative to the last couple laps at around 130R is a lot closer And now he's going to get DRS. Look at how close he is. He's going to get slipstream in DRS. Is there going to be a move down into turn 1?
I think a little bit too far back, but possibly on the next lap as Mr. Cool just covers that outside lane. And the McLarens now might be getting a little feisty, of course. That wouldn't be too good for the constructors' standings, but I don't think the drivers care too much about that. I think they want to get to be in the win here. I did see the McLarens working together, so they are cordial, but it's always about the driver first. And without a team principal breathing down your neck, oh, that's a crash. Chill Mo is out of the race. And that was, where was that? It's in the turn 1. And that's a virtual safety car deployed, so not a full safety car. Drivers will keep the relative delta. We probably won't see too many pit stops from that, but that's Chill Mo out of the motor race. And I'm not too sure what happened with him coming in the turn 1, but it looked like must have been, that's a weird spot to spin, so I have to think that maybe some sort of accident may have happened there because his wheel is off on the left side as well, which again, that's not where the wall is, so I had to think there might have been some contact with somebody.
Yeah, it looks like on the track. Is that where the pit exit is? Did he have some contact with maybe someone exiting the pits?
Well, I also see Yuri here, who was close to him. He has a lot of front wing damage on his Renault, so I'm having to think maybe there might have been some contact there, but nevertheless, Chill Mo, who we were just talking about this, was running pretty well. Unfortunately, about to be passed by his teammate, is going to be out of this race already on lap number 6. Unfortunate for him. Lorenzo will just get ahead of him now. So we have one car out already. Not a full safety car, just a VSC. Again, VSC means you keep your relative delta pace where you were before. That is it ending right there. And DRS is back to enabled. And we begin this race again as, oh, look at this, Jedi. Jedi got a fantastic start on this VSC. What's happening to Mr. Cool? He lets by.
Mr. Cool sleeping.
Mr. Cool has lost the lead of the race. Jedi just caught him there, and that's a very odd situation happened. Dempsey is now again making moves with Northman, so they're battling again here. So this is going to go till the end of the race, I presume, I think, as Northman and Dempsey are having a fantastic race. Mushrooms out! No! Mushrooms out of the motor race, and he has a crash into the S's. And that is a yellow flag, Sector 1. I don't know if we'll get a safety car. It's a little bit too late, I think, at the moment. They would have called it by now. There he is. It was turn number 2, which is a treacherous part of the track. If you clip that inside curve, it's an almost instant spin. And he is out of the race. There is no safety car, but Mushroom is out of this race. Super unfortunate for him. He was doing so well.
But look at this now. Mr. Cool is going to try and get back at his teammate. He's like, you know what? I may have been caught napping, but I'm still faster than you. Again, no DRS down this straightaway. Boy, would that be amazing.
But it's going to get already close enough now. Oh, are we going to see a move in the 130R? This is going to be very difficult here. Mr. Cool looks like he has the advantage, and Jedi just backs out of it. And he was not looking to have that kind of situation happen in the 130R. Would have been very dangerous. And, ooh, a little bit of a grass clipping by Mr. Cool there. Now, I think that it's going to be Jedi with DRS. Yes, it is. So he will still be able to gain a little bit of an advantage on him, but definitely not going to be a move in the turn number 1. But already we have 2 drivers out in about of a span of a lap. And unfortunately, it's Chill Mo and Mushroom, which, as we've said before, have had issues with that.
Yeah, it's two, what's the word? It's 2 different types of frustration, at least that they're feeling right now. Chill Mo just not getting the luck, and Mushroom, again, didn't quite see what happened, maybe just pushing a little bit too hard through the S's. Jadine's going to want to look to get back at him. He was, as we mentioned, just hovering around the 7/10, 8/10 gap mark through the first, I'd say 5 or 6 laps before Jadine caught Mr. Cool napping on the safety car restart.
I apologize, ladies and gentlemen. I had a little bit of a lawnmower situation going on outside. I didn't want to catch it on stream. But it looks like, Carter, you kept it on helm, and we're still going on well in this race. We're on lap number 8 at the moment with Mr. Cool in the lead, back from Jedi.
Yep, and again, just still about that 8/10 mark. He's not, again, and no DRS down here, just plain straight slipstream.
Look at this, Northman and slipstream of Dempsey. Now this might be a move in the 130R. It's going to get dicier. On the inside is even more difficult, and it's going to be side by side. Oh my goodness, Dempsey still keeps it, and he had a little bit of a scary moment there. I think Dempsey was expecting some contact because he went off track there and still keeps the position. Here we go there. DRS coming down the straight, much closer than you would like to be for a safe run through turn number 1. So I'm expecting Northman to make a challenge in the turn 1. He's going to take the inside lane coming in the turn 1. There's the move, and Northman with a clean overtake in the turn 1. What an amazing move. A little wide there, and it looked like Dempsey tried for a switchback maneuver, but it wasn't going to happen. And it is Northman back and forth. There's a battle going on further down. Oh, sorry, no, it's Jordan who comes into the pits and puts on the medium compound tires.
Dempsey's falling off the track. He's into the gravel. Luckily for him, he's able to get right back on it. I think, couldn't tell if Dempsey and Northman were side by side or not, but Dempsey just lost it. And didn't
Dempsey has to be careful, though. He has to be careful. He doesn't want to overcook the tires. They're already going to be delicate here. Ikovic is a little bit further back, so I don't think he's going to catch up to him, Ikovic to Dempsey, but Dempsey has to be a little bit more delicate with the tires after a spin like that.
Yep. Luckily for him, it was towards the end of the first sector, so the S's were far past him. But still, as you mentioned, tires overheated, a lot of gravel and dirt on him. Could be very, very slippery coming out of the exit of some corners.
So we have a little bit of time to breathe right now, as there's a few gaps, a few gaps now. As it's been nonstop action. What's your reaction? Oh, Yuri out of the race.
Maybe
and it's in the S's again, VSC, and it's that same crash that Mushroom had. He must have clipped the inside curb, and he is out.
Cruz is going to take this opportunity to pit. The two McLarens were already past
Northman
the pit
also
entry.
into the pits. Chris into the pits. Does Dempsey follow? Yes, he does.
Yes. The McLarens had already passed the pit entry. This is going to help out the rest of the pack for sure. You'd have to think.
Busy pit lane. Ikovic is he goes into pits as well.
The gap now is about 22, 24.
But Kovacic, he has a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Not a good time right there, as Jordan will not like to make a pit stop. He may jump a few of the drivers here, as yes, he'll go to 7th on the grid behind his teammate Dempsey. So a little bit of teammates now next to each other. We're back under green flag conditions. Again, only a VSC to be elected there to take out. So we've thankfully had no full safety cars just yet. The drivers have been quite all right, though with the gaps now we might want to see that happen. But we, like you said here, the McLarens caught out into the dry as they're coming near the end of their soft tire lifespan, about 9 laps on both of those cars. And you really don't want to extend it any further than that, because the tires really start to fall off quickly and you're asking to spin in the turn 1, especially with the load you put on the tires. Yeah,
and if you make it through turn 1, you might think you're in the clear, but right after that, you've got this sequence of S-turns.
Jedi and Mr. Cool stays out, so Jedi goes into pits first.
No safety car.
I didn't get the yellow flag.
I was going to say, if these two got the benefit of a safety car into the pits, it would have really kind of negated the virtual safety car for the rest of the other guys. But it's medium tires for Jediant. Mr. Cool is going to try for the overcut here, staying out on 10-lap-old soft tires.
We'll see if it works.
Jediant passed by Cruz. He will stay out ahead of Northman, so only losing 1 position.
Cruz, you have to say, with medium tires on, sitting in 2nd, this has been a very good race for him.
And as I said, that's the benefit of the VSC coming out, is because now it's only a lap difference, as you mentioned. So Cruz is not going to have to pit again. Jediant is going to have to catch him.
And see there, Mr. Cool with a lot of ERS. He saved that up, so he knew what time it was going to be for that overcut, and he has a lot of ERS to play with to set a very fast in-lap to get into the pits as quickly as possible. That gap is going to be about 24 seconds to Jedi, so let's see if he can get ahead of him in the pit lane. Cruz will take the lead of this Japanese Grand Prix unless anything happens to him in the span of a few corners.
Yep, and we're going to see if Mr. Cool likes to pit, and of course he will. Try not to speed, get the car woed up, and he does. So now all eyes are on Cruz and Jediant and Northman. Actually, we're going to see where Mr. Cool is going to file back in. Cruz
I
now
don't
coming.
even know. No, I don't even think. I think Cruz might. Oh no, Mr. Cool is going to keep the lead of the race. This has been a disaster for Jedi. It's going to be close between Cruz and Mr. Cool, but no, not even close. Mr. Cool stays in the lead on the medium tires.
What?
It doesn't help Cruz, and Jedi, really the loser in this situation, sitting in third.
That must have been the in lap of all in laps.
They must have been using some of that Mercedes strategy in Australia in 2018, because it was then when Lewis Hamilton and the team misjudged the times. And I don't know if Jedi misjudged the times, or maybe it was just as I said, Mr. Cool had a lot of ERS to play with coming on that in lap. But he has gone ahead of Cruz and Jedi, and this has been a masterful strategy for him.
Yeah, and to be fair, Cruz is sticking with them. Mr. Cool's he's not really pulling away, and whoa, Mr. Cool looked like he had a little. Oh my goodness! At least from the onboard angle, a little bit of a squabble.
I did see that. Oh, Lorenzo has a 5-second penalty speeding in the pit lane. I also mentioned Dempsey got a 3-second time penalty for, I presume, some corner cuts, which is interesting.
Oh no,
he's retired in the pit lane. Okay, so that is one other driver out, and that is a double retirement for Ferrari. So not a good time for the Scuderia outfit today in this race. They have had a absolute shocker. Chomo first and Lorenzo next.
Yeah, and Cruz was very, very close to the gearbox of Mr. Cool. He's going to get the DRS now, but yeah, just too far back to look to make a move into turns 1 and 2.
I want to ride on board with. Oh, look at this! A move on.
Oh no, Mr. Cool's around.
A spin!
Mr. Cool spun!
I wanted to mention there was a move between Fallen Monkeys and Velasquez, but the McLarens now might battle a little bit. They're still battling the Red Bull and the Toro Rosso at the bottom of the racetrack here. This is for 11th on the grid, but I think Velasquez has a... Oh my gosh, I'm going to say that name wrong a few too many times in this race.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to Mr. Cool. It was into turn 1. Just completely lost the back end of it and spun around. He did a good job to keep it pointing in relatively one direction, keep it moving in one direction. No damage, just probably didn't, the tires probably didn't like it too much though. And so now Cruz, out of nowhere, is in the lead.
Cruz in the lead. It's the best possible situation for Mercedes with the retirement from Mushroom. Northman is currently in 4th, about 3.9 seconds behind Jedi, so not really in the battle for the top 3 here. As you can see, Jedi still dropping back, though, for Mr. Cool, so Mr. Cool has done well to recover from that spin, and he has lost almost no time to his teammate in that kind of sense, as it's right back to where we began, but it's Cruz now who is the change here, and he's in the lead of this Japanese Grand Prix at lap number 13, now coming 14, and he sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix for good measure right there.
Yep. We're going to keep a close eye on that gap between Mr. Cool and Cruz. Jedine's actually gained about 4/10 on his teammate through the front straightaway. Got to probably credit that to DRS and slipstream.
I want to mention here Vasilevsky, who is in the soft tires. This is not what I would consider to be a good strategy because he has to pit again. There's no way the softs are going to last till the end of the race. So I think this has been a bit of a blunder on his part, as Fallen Monkeys is behind him under a second actually. So he's even keeping up with him on 7 old mediums.
Yeah, and we, you know what, we don't really know. A lot of things could have happened to Vasilevsky. We don't know. But
yellow flag. There's another spin, maybe.
I was looking, going through the
drivers. Northman. I didn't see there's a yellow flag.
Couldn't quite tell. But look at the gap. It's nearly a second closer between Mr. Cool and Cruz.
Look at this. Fallen Monkeys just challenging around the outside possibly. But stays behind him nonetheless. Mr. Cool and Cruz, 1.2 seconds that gap. And fastest in the purple sector for Mr. Cool, so we might see another fastest lap change here coming through the chicane.
Not going to get DRS though, just a little bit too far back for that.
And it is a easy fastest lap for Mr. Cool for 131.5, and that's a fantastically quick lap on the medium tires later on into this race.
Yep,
so we're
just
over
about.
halfway through the race here, Carter, and what is the reaction so far? Who's doing well, who's not doing well, and who needs to step up the pace right now and maybe have a good chance of a good position?
I was definitely, what's the word? I was expecting a little bit more from Chris Can, Damsey, and Jordan. We see them at the front. I mean, granted, they are 5th, 6th, and 7th. Trying to think back at the start if they had a good start or not. But usually like to see them, or they usually are at around 3rd, 4th, 5th. Cruz has just absolutely had the dominoes fall right in the right place for him. With the spin for Mr. Cool, the VSC coming out, able to pit early. So, I mean, just absolutely incredible luck in that sense for Cruz. But Mr. Cool looks like he's really starting to catch back up to him now. It's really close to a second and now under 1 second, so he may get the DRS down the front straightaway.
0.3 now that gap is, so it is definitely decreasing very quickly, and we might even see him moving the chicane though, a little bit too far back, but Cruz a little sideways out of the exit here, and now we might see a move for the change of the lead. Mr. Cool looking to get back that lead after that spin, a unusual spin for him in turn number 1. He looks like he's going to have to take the outside lane, which actually might be the better lane for him, as he's going to just keep it around the outside, and pretty much a masterful move around the outside on Cruz 9K. Just unable to defend against that, and he is back into the lead of this race. Jedi behind by about 2.5 seconds, almost a non-factor.
Yep.
I want to talk about Dempsey here. He's getting quite close to LAS Chris, who's currently sitting 5th on the grid. Dempsey would love to get into the top 5. He's currently in the same starting position from qualifying.
Yeah, and quickly I want to jump back to Mr. Cool. I don't think I've ever seen a leader of the race spin out and then within a matter of 5 laps get the lead right back. So well done to him. Damsey is really starting to catch up to Chris. As you said, the gap is about 2.6 seconds. Tap the rear tire to the gravel just a little bit. He's looking to make a move down the inside, not quite. He's going to have to regroup and try another time. Jedi, I'm looking at the gap between him and Cruz. Looks like he's gaining a little bit. But this would be a huge result for Cruz up in 2nd place to split the 2 McLarens.
LAS Chris in the Alfa Romeo, his teammate, actually right at the moment a double points finish would be in place for Alex Ja and Chris. They're both in the top 10, but a big gap of positions there, as Mr. Cool again goes fastest by 0.2 of a second, so even faster than the previous lap.
Yeah, and it's good to see guys like Alex and El Biku into the points after some frustrating results so far this year. Hopefully they can keep it there. Damsey now DRS and slipstream down the front straightaway. There's going to be a move down into turn 1.
There is, and he is going to get it easily ahead of Chris. So I think Chris might have some pace issues on these mediums, because he just did not. He barely defended into turn 1. Just kind of let Dempsey take it. And Chris might be running, and you can even see a little bit, he's not really hitting the apexes too well on some of the S-turns, and he might be struggling right now on those medium tires, currently lap 17 of 27.
Yep, and he's running a little bit low on ERS. He's really going to try and, you'd like to save up a little bit of ERS for the main straightaways through the 1st and 2nd sectors. But yeah, that's Damsey into 5th.
I'm definitely I'm thinking Alex Ja's probably going to do the softs at the end. He's on lap 15 old medium tires, so that pretty much the whole race almost. So I'm expecting Alex Ja will pit to the softs at the end. Velosky currently on 6 lap old softs. Again, he's going to have to pit pretty soon.
Yep. So Fallen Monkeys might be gifted a 10th place finish. Let's see, it's 21 laps for him. If he goes to the end of the race on the mediums. Definitely possible, but you'd really have to try and save the lifespan of the tire. Oh my goodness, we got Damsey, and it is Damsey! He's around!
Into the wall! His teammate's about to come up on him and make a pass, and he cuts the track there, and Dempsey drops to 7th.
And somehow, again, no damage. I was riding with Briscan, and I saw out of the corner of the eye, just Damsey looked like it was almost sideways and kind of squabbling around on the straight right after 130R. and just saw him hit the gravel, just spun right back onto the track, almost collected Chris Can.
I have actually almost, hit the, I hit the gravel one time, or sorry, the grass, coming into that chicane, and if you do drop it on the grass there, it completely unsettles the car.
Very, very true. I almost have to think that's exactly what happened to Damsey, but it was actually, maybe he did actually get loose coming out of 130R, because he started, looked like swerving back and forth, trying to keep it going straight pretty early before the chicane.
I want to also say Jedi's lost time to cruise, about 2.7 seconds that gap now, so he was gaining on him, but is now
and
not.
There was Alex into the pits, as you mentioned.
Soft tires.
Yep. And he's just going to have to hope that Fallen Monkeys and Vezlovsky will have to pit again, but he's just going to have to hope that Fallen Monkeys makes a mistake.
I want to talk about Albiku here. He's on those 12-lap old hards. Pretty silent this race for him. He's currently sitting 9th on the grid. Do we see any interesting tactics from the top guys ahead of him? May we see him move up some positions? 15 seconds to Ikovic. We might see him move up to 8th possibly if somebody elects to go onto the softs till the end, but I'm not expecting that to happen, but it is a possibility.
No, I think the only way that you'd see some of these top guys come into pit again, and maybe not even if this happens, but if we do get a safety car, maybe just a 5 or 4 lap sprint to the end on softs, maybe. But I think that's the only scenario I see Albiku getting some positions, or a crash, but which would obviously result in a possible safety car. But Damsey now starting to catch back up to his teammate. It's under a second now going through Sector 1. You can see visually how much closer he is to Jordan.
Definitely got better pace than his Williams teammate at the moment, though he does take a little bit too much of the curve there. That's not really the faster line through there, as he's coming up to the hairpin now. A little bit of a drop on the grass for Jordan. As you can see, the car kind of unsettled a lot there. Fallen Monkeys has a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. That is not good for him, and I don't think he served it in the pit lane either, so he is going to have that added onto his race time. Alex Judd now coming around, and this has not helped him whatsoever, and in a battle where you're battling on the last lap, this is the last thing you want to happen. Coming out of the pit lane, it is Alex Judd who takes ahead of him. Oh, but he's slowing up considerably. I'm not too sure what's... He's ghosting on track. Is Alex Judd out of this race? Not too sure what was
so. Yeah, I'm just as confused as you are. We do ghost the drivers when they are about to be lapped.
He did, so yeah, that was the McLaren, I think, ghosting him. But he was also slowing up considerably in the turn 1, which is why I was thinking that. As you can see now...
look at Damsey and Jordan really getting close together. It's now down to 0.4 of a second.
You can see one of the Williams drivers at least go up a lot further up on the grid again. Sweet Car 19 competing in the Japanese Grand Prix in Tier 1, just coming up in a few hours' time, and actually about 1 hour's time. In fact, as it is 3 o'clock right now, 4 o'clock for the Tier 1 Japanese Grand Prix, and you can see Jar and Sweet Car 19 battle it out at the Suzuka circuit here. I'm sure it's going to be a good race nonetheless, as I've seen Sweet Car around Suzuka. He is blistering around that track.
Yeah, and I mean, if we're talking about Sweet Car, we could pretty much say blistering around every track. I mean, he's got the
but
pace
Suzuka's a special one. I think his time trial is a 27.2, which means it's going to be maybe a 26 something, possibly in qualifying.
Yep, we'll just have to see. And if you'd like to see it again, he's going to have to compete with the top drivers here at ISRL Tier 1 coming up in about an hour. As you said, Jediant is actually going to have to fend. Okay, I saw
and look
the
at this. Dempsey's very close to Jordan, coming up into the chicane. Not a move into the chicane. Oh, lost it again! Dempsey, I think, outbroke himself into the chicane that time, and then he lost it again, and now was dropping back this time. And again, that was not really a spin. That was just more so really lost it.
Yeah, and that's kind of the scenario you just mentioned before, clipping the grass. You're not going to keep it straight going into that braking zone.
Lap 21 of 27. And Mr. Cool leading this Grand Prix, 3.3 seconds ahead of Cruz 9K, and it's Jedi in third, Northman in fourth. A good recovery drive from him after starting in second and has not had the best start, though he has done well to keep it in fourth. And in the top 5 is Chris, who's had a pretty good race for himself.
Yeah, it's been pretty consistent, I think, all throughout the race, hovering around that 5th or 6th place. Looking still at the 2 Williams. Dempsey's done a good job of recovering. I forgot to mention, luckily after that spin, he still maintained DRS the front straightaway to kind of negate a little bit of the time that he lost to Jordan, and is back now within 0.6 of a second of his teammate.
And we are riding on board with Dempsey, 0.5 of a second away from Jordan. Really the only battle going on right now. He has caught back up to his teammate, and it's only been a lap. Even with that spin, you can just see the pace difference between Jordan and Dempsey right now. This time, much better braking into the final chicane, and we may see a move on this lap, in fact, as they're separated by just about half a second. DRS activated, big slipstream for Dempsey. Jordan is struggling. Surely a move, maybe even before turn 1. And we see a move by Dempsey, and he takes back 6th away from Jordan. And you could just see it happening. Clear pace advantage for him, and he is into 6th position where he qualified from.
Yeah, and I think Jordan kind of knew that he was faster, didn't put up too much of a fight, especially considering it is his teammate. So, yep, as you said, Dempsey up into 6th. What a recovery after nearly putting it straight into the wall just a lap ago.
Mr. Cool, 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. Oh boy! Now I know now Cruz 9K is about 4 seconds back. And that is the first penalty for Mr. Cool. Cruz, I do not believe, has any penalties on him at the moment. So if Mr. Cool, if he isn't able to keep it well in this race at the end, we may see Cruz take it out. If you want to check that to see if he does have penalties.
Yep, I'll do that. And Cruz is definitely going to be talking to Jeff, asking, hey, how many seconds of penalties does the guy have in front of me? And if he hears 3 and he sees the gap is just hovering around 4 seconds, he's going to have to really pick up the pace to try and get in that 3-second gap window.
You also got to say that Mr. Cool, not a lot of ERS to play with either right now, so he's going to rely on pure pace. Mr. ERS to play with. But 11 lap old mediums versus 13 lap old mediums, so Cruz is at a disadvantage pace-wise. But again, it's only going to take one more penalty again, and then this race is blown wide open unless Cruz does in fact have a penalty.
I can confirm Cruz, no penalties. Jediant, no penalties. Northman, no penalties. All the way down to Chris Cam, no penalties. Mr. Cool, and I think he's starting to realize it now, and he's really starting to
pick up the pace
to grow the gap to Cruz, yeah.
Because now it's 4.8 seconds. It's almost grown by a second this entire lap. So I think Mr. Cool realizes if he wants to win this race, he's got to put the foot down.
Yep, for sure. 4 laps to go, coming up to 3 to go. Gap is 5 seconds. He gained almost a second through that lap. And I almost now have to certainly think that he's been pushing all out through this lap to try and get that gap a little bit higher.
Cruz coming across the line right there, second in this race. It's been a masterful race for Cruz, and if I'd have to go for a driver of the day in this race, it has to be Cruz. He's had a fantastic performance, and he is up in the podium right now ahead of Jedi, splitting the McLarens. Fallen Monkeys, he has a 3-second time penalty. He is in last at the moment behind Alex Judd, 24. And it has not been a good race for Fallen Monkeys, and he's about 2 places out of 10th position.
Yeah, and you were mentioning candidates for driver of the day. We usually don't like to just give it to the guy who finishes in first place, but after a spin and still maintaining, getting back that first place, and then a 5-second gap, in my opinion, I don't think Mr. Cool is necessarily out of the question, but I do have to agree. I think the edge is going to have to go to Cruz at this point. Granted, it was a little bit lucky with the timing of the VSC that let him pit, earlier
But,
in the two McLarens.
you know, I always say with luck, you know, you got to say is like, well, he couldn't. There was a, you know, maybe he was lucky, but he was there. So if he wasn't there, he wasn't able to do it.
Exactly. He still was able to capitalize on it and keep one of the fast McLarens behind him.
Yeah, Jedi is not, I have to say, Jedi on these medium tires really just not putting in good pace. He just really hasn't been very pacey on these mediums at Suzuka. Never really able to challenge for Cruz's second or first position at the point when he was in first. Mr. Cool, really, though, you just have to say, as he begins the final 3 laps of this Japanese Grand Prix, Mr. Cool just clearly a little bit faster than the rest of the pack today. He's just been on a charge, and if we had to give a driver of the day, you know, Mr. Cool did really put in a great performance. He's been absolutely extremely quick through here, and as you said, again, with that spin, somehow still taking it back in such a short amount of time, and then again, back to the domination that we're used to. 1 penalty for him, but he has since seen that, and you can see the gap increasing quite a bit. So even if he was to gain another one, I wouldn't be surprised to see him get it to 6 seconds and then negate that penalty as well.
Yep. And again, luckily for him, he's already got that kind of caution window now in case he does pick up another penalty. It's about 5.6 seconds, so wouldn't have to push too hard to get that 6-second gap to Cruz. And as we see Albiku into the pits, those hard tires not enough for him, but I think luckily for him, I think he's actually realized this. He's still going to come out ahead of
so I think he's going to try to do fastest lap, and he is going to be in that top 10, so he can get the point for it. Yeah,
but he's got to be careful as well.
Way too far away to be overtaking him, I think.
Yeah, he's got to be careful though as well. He's going to be pushing all out for that fastest lap. Can't spin it though and lose the car and end up not getting any points as a result of it. Just trying to get 1 extra point. May lose all 3 of them.
Penultimate lap beginning. Mr. Cool, your leader, 5.9 seconds is that gap. Jedi in third behind Cruz, and the gap right there, 2.7 seconds as you can see. So the top 3 having a fantastic race. Northman sitting in 4th, LA Chris in 5th. Dempsey is in 6th, his teammate Jordan in 7th. Ikovic currently 8th. Albiku with those new soft tires going for a fastest lap, currently sitting in 9th. Vezlovsky currently in 10th, the only guy left in the points, and it's Alex Ja and Fallen Monkeys, who are 11th and 12th. And I think Fallen Monkeys may be the most disappointed in this race, if, of course, besides anybody who retired. Of course, Mushroom, you have to say, Mushroom and Chomo, for that matter, both pretty good qualifying performances, and they actually were not doing too bad in the race, just unfortunate issues for them, and they were not able to finish this motor race.
Yep, you mentioned Mushroom. 4th place qualifying, looking to maybe kind of turn the tide in the terms of the championship, but not going to help here. No points for him. Mr. Cool looks like he's going to get at least 25. Not sure. Maybe I think Northman has the no, Mr. Cool. That's right. Was able to get the fastest lap back. So he's looking at 26 points to Mushroom 0. Not going to help him in terms of the championship.
As we are about to begin the final lap of this Japanese Grand Prix. What can you say? We had a lot of excitement in this race. We had a few crashes, no full safety cars, so good on most of the drivers. We had most of them finish, so pretty clean race for most of them. And it's been an action-packed race here in Suzuka, and Mr. Cool taking that final lap here to win it in Suzuka, the Japanese Grand Prix, where many championships have been decided here in the real-life world of Formula One racing. But I don't believe a championship decided here today.
I don't think decided, but I think we've got the clear front runners have been displayed for us, and Mr. Cool, Cruz, Giant, Northman, and even Chris Can at this point. Going back into last year, we know his pace would not count him out for a second, but Mr. Cool, Cruz, Giant, clearly the front runners, and he's just going to extend that lead over his teammate, which was 1 point coming into this race. It looks like he's going to extend it to about 12 when this is all said and done.
There's Mr. Cool coming around to that long back straight, that start-finish line, which is a start-finish line somewhere in the world, but I don't know what it is for, as he's coming around 130R, coming into that final chicane. Mr. Cool has had a masterful performance here, and he is going to win the Japanese Grand Prix. In the Japanese Grand Prix Tier 2 race here in ISRL Esports, comes across the line. He wins it here in Suzuka. Cruz 9K is going to come across the line with a masterful second place after a great strategy. Jedi will finish on the podium in third. Northman just coming around that turn. He will finish in fourth. A good recovery drive after a bad start for him. And it's Chris a little bit further back who's going to round off the top 5. Another solid performance with that podium in Tier 4. He puts it 5th in this Japanese Grand Prix.
Yep, usual suspects at the top 5. Damsey is going to come home in 6th, and his teammate Jordan in 7th. Ikovic, oh, well, now switch that around. Damsey falls back due to penalties. Jordan's going to take 6th. Ikovic and Elbiku looks like they will finish in their respective positions, and that is going to conclude the Japanese Grand Prix. What one of the more clean and races that we've seen so far, where we've seen some guys use strategy to their advantage, as we saw with Cruz.
I want to see if Elbiku, did he set a fastest lap? I didn't see.
I don't think so.
No, and he's way too slow on this lap, so he was not able to get the fastest lap, but it's going to be 9th place for him, so he's still going to get some points on the board. But there you are, Mr. Cool, winner here in the Japanese Grand Prix. A masterful performance for him, and we'll see if we can get some of the drivers in on the party for a podium chit-chat. It would have to be you, Carter, to suggest them, because I'm not friends with some of them.
It's all good. I'm going to try and look to get Cruz or Mr. Cool in here. We'll try and get Mr. Cool first. Again, there's Mr. Cool, and I'll also give you Cruz. We can see if we can get either of them into the party. Yep.
So I've just invited the drivers there. And there's your top 5. Mr. Cool, Cruz, Jedi, Northman, and Chris in 5th. Rounding off the rest of the grid, it's Jordan, JT in 6th, 7th for Dempsey, Ikovic in 8th, 9th for Elbiku, 10th for Vaslowski, 11th for Alex Judd, 24, Fallen Monkeys in 12th, 13th for Lorenzo, Yuri Kokif in 14th, 15th for Mushroom, and last is Chilmo. 4 DNFs in this Grand Prix, and that is your race over here in the Japanese Grand Prix. Now, my only problem is we may see some of the drivers may not recognize. Oh, we do have Mr. Cool in the party, and hopefully we can get Cruz in the party as well. We can talk to our top 2 in this race. As let me get to the.
Yep, and as we get over there, Mr. Cool, I mean, I can't believe it. You had a spin. You were sideways in turn 1. You fell back into 2nd or 3rd at some point. Still, nearly 6 seconds ahead of 2nd place. How'd you do it?
It was crazy. It was just crazy. After the second VSC restart, I missed the delta and I have to brake, and then the Diane passed me. Then the half spin, like you said, I thought it was over there because I got all the race through just pressure, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm just sweating on my pad, and yeah, it was crazy then. And then I got all maxed out to get Cruz back, and yeah, luckily I did.
Yep.
Yeah, and you had that penalty at the end there. I think you had to maybe kick it in the high gear there because he was close in that 3-second range, and that could have been disastrous for your race. But you definitely, we definitely saw you kick it into another gear at the end of the race there to make sure that you covered off that penalty.
I had to. Yeah, I always thought, okay, maybe he's gonna get his penalty, but I don't know. I felt like I can't rely on that, so I can only rely on myself and push and get out the window, and yeah, it was crazy race, intense, very intense.
Well,
Mr. Cool,
well
you're a winner.
Yep.
Mr. Cool, you're a winner in the Japanese Grand Prix. Congratulations to you. I don't know if we're going to get Cruz into the party today.
I don't think so.
So we are just going to conclude here, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for watching ISRL Esports. Thank you, everybody, of course, in ISRL Esports to give me the opportunity to make my debut here today. And I'm glad to be commentating for you guys, and hopefully I'll be in many more races to come. And Carter, great to have you in the commentary booth, and it's been a pleasure commentating alongside you as well.
Absolutely, anytime, and I can't wait for Tier 1 here. Gonna try and get me a good points finish, and can't wait for next week to see some more action as well.
Make sure to like and subscribe if you are new to ISRL Esports. Make sure to tune in just about 43 minutes, in fact, for the Tier 1 Japanese Grand Prix. You can see Carter and many more top-tier ISRL drivers compete for the trophy there in Suzuka. My name is IJKX. I've been joined by ISRL Carter, and you've been watching ISRL Esports. Signing off from Tier 2. Thank you very much, and have yourselves a wonderful day.